Picture a guy. Today, he wins $10 million in the lottery. Yesterday, he was an ordinary employee. Today, he's a multi-millionaire. Seems like his life just changed forever, right? Now think about this. 70% of that same man's money is gone within 5 years. This isn't a scenario I made up. It's real statistics, and I'll give you the source in a moment. Now look at the exact opposite picture. The Rothschild family. For over 200 years, this family's wealth hasn't just survived, it's grown with every generation. On one side, money that vanishes overnight. On the other, an empire that hasn't crumbled in 2 centuries. What's the difference? The answer isn't in the amount of money. The answer is in a system I'm about to show you. And fair warning, there's a number coming up in the middle of this video that will completely change how you think about money. So stay till the end. Let's start with why new money usually doesn't survive. Research from the Family Business Institute shows this bluntly. Only 30% of family businesses make it to the 2nd generation. Only 12% reach the 3rd. By the 4th generation, that number drops to 3%. That means 97 out of 100 families lose their wealth within 4 generations. Don't think of this as one family's failure. This is basically a universal pattern. And it's not just family businesses. Look at the world of sports. According to research from Sports Illustrated, 78% of NFL players face serious financial trouble just 2 years after retiring. The numbers are a bit better in the NBA, but still alarming. Within 5 years, 60% of players are near bankruptcy. Sit with that for a second. These are people who earned tens of millions of dollars over their careers. The problem isn't earning too little. The problem is that money was never built to be protected. That's exactly why there's an old American saying, "Shirtsleeves to shirtsleeves in 3 generations." The first generation earns the money. The second grows it a bit, or just holds on to it. The third spends everything, and the family starts over from zero. This isn't fate. It's the result of having no system. So what do the families with a system actually do? Families like the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Vanderbilts didn't fall into the same trap because they think about money differently. First difference, they don't hand wealth directly to their children. They place it inside trust structures. That means the money isn't anyone's personal property anymore. It lives inside a system built for generations. A child can't spend the money because they're not the owner. They're just a beneficiary. Second difference, diversification. Old money never depends on a single source. According to UBS's Global Family Office report, multi-generational, wealthy families keep an average of 15 to 20% of their portfolios in alternative assets like real estate, art, and private equity. That prevents a single market crash from wiping out the entire fortune at once. But there's a third difference. That's actually more important than the first two, and this brings me to that shocking number I promised. The wealth consulting firm, the Williams Group, tracked over 3,200 wealthy families for more than 20 years and asked them, why does wealth disappear? The answer is far from what you'd expect. Only 15% of the reasons wealth gets lost across generations come down to technical issues like bad investments or tax mistakes. Another 25% is children not being adequately prepared. But the single biggest cause, a full 60%, is a lack of communication and trust among family members. Let me say that again, because it's the real core of this whole video. 85% of wealth loss is a human factor. Spreadsheets, tax advisors, investment strategy, all of that matters. But it's only 15% of the problem. The remaining 85% hides in conversations that either happen around the family table or never happen at all. This is the actual secret of old money. Talking openly about it, preparing the next generation, building trust. Now, let's compare this with the psychology of new money. A young person who suddenly got rich off crypto, or an entrepreneur who sold a startup for a huge payout. Most of them see money as an endless flowing river because they got it incredibly fast. An old money holder, by contrast, sees money as a limited reserve because it was passed down to them, and they're expected to pass it down the same way. According to a widely cited study from the National Endowment for Financial Education, 70% of people who suddenly come into a large sum of money spend all of it within a few years. This is called sudden wealth syndrome. Overspending, rushed investment decisions, and being crushed under demands of, "You're rich now, help me out." Old money families do the exact opposite. They consciously resist lifestyle inflation, meaning spending automatically, rising along with income. Often, they don't even show off their wealth. So what's really at the root of all this? I'd say a difference in how they see time. New money asks itself, how much will I earn this year? Old money asks, will this wealth still exist in 50 years? Here's a simple math example. If a family grows its wealth by just 7% a year and spends nothing extra, that wealth grows roughly 7 to 8 times over 30 years. But if that same family spends a similar percentage of its income every year, after 30 years, there's essentially no growth at all. The math is simple. What's hard is spending less today and waiting for the future. As wealth planning experts point out, the world's wealthiest families make decisions on a 3 to 4 generation horizon, that's 75 to 100 years. An average entrepreneur, meanwhile, usually only plans for the next 5 to 10 years. That gap between 10 years and 100 years is really the answer to this whole video. Why one fortune lasts forever, while another evaporates in 2 generations. Let me make this even clearer with one specific example. After Mayor Amschel Rothschild died in 1839, he left his family a set of instructions. Wealth was never to leave the family. Daughters were excluded from inheritance, and business management was to stay strictly within the family. It sounds harsh, even unfair by today's standards, but the goal was to prevent the wealth from being split apart. The result? Over a century later, the Rothschild name still carries weight in global finance. Compare that to the Vanderbilt fortune in the U.S., once considered one of the largest fortunes in history. Yet because there was no clear structure or discipline passed down among family members, most of it evaporated within a few generations. 2 families, 2 completely different outcomes. And the difference, as I said, was structure. So let's go back to where we started. The difference between a lottery winner and the Rothschild family isn't luck, and it isn't the amount of money. The difference is between treating money as, "This is mine, I'll spend it now," versus, "This is entrusted to me, and I have to pass it on." Earning wealth is a skill. Protecting it is an entirely different game. One that requires structure, diversification, preparation, and above all, open communication. If you're in the middle of building your wealth right now, whether through a salary or your own business, ask yourself, am I thinking about how to spend this money or how to protect and pass it on? Your answer will determine which statistic you become part of 20 years from now. If this video made you think, hit like and subscribe to the channel, because in the next video, I'll show you real families, step-by-step strategies for protecting wealth for over 100 years. Drop a comment. What do you think is the biggest difference between old money and new money? See you in the next video.